Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. Your breaking news show is here. And my God, do we have some breaking news. INEOS to make more cuts. Manchester United losing millions of pounds. Little snippet from Ten Hag's interview, which is dropping tomorrow, but we're going to discuss the long-term effect of him actually being a manager at the club, and then we want to discuss the free agent market as well, because there's some reports on that. But Sam, again, I know obviously you would have seen the club statement, but for the benefit of people who are currently watching this right now, I shall read it out for them and get your reaction to it. So, they released this earlier on today. And this is how it's been worded, people, basically. So, Manchester United is to transform its corporate structure as part of a series of additional measures to improve the club's financial sustainability and enhance operational efficiency. The transformation plan aims to return the club to profitability after 5 consecutive years of losses since 2019. This will create a more solid financial platform from which the club can invest in men's and women's football success and improved infrastructure. Now, Omar Barada released a few bits on this as well, basically saying that because we've lost money for the past 5 consecutive years, this cannot continue. The 2 main priorities of the club are delivering, basically focus on delivering success on the pitch for our fans and improving our facilities. We cannot invest in these objectives if we are continuously losing money. And there's loads of other things coming out from certain things that are being cut. But before I get into those specifics, Sam, again, harsh, cold cuts from INEOS, made to look like a transformation, apparently.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take this off because actually I'm
sorry,
only seeing yellow. I
should have introed with that, right? Let me quickly explain. I don't know why I didn't think it. So basically, obviously, me and Sam jump on Discord. We have a discussion about the show, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's been, what quarter zip are you wearing there? And I was like, oh, it's Columbia one. He was like, I've literally got we're going to look like idiots. We've got the exact same one on. And then he's like, the same, got a beanie hat on, and then the same fucking glasses. And it was like, you might as well just go live with it. So, sorry, go for it.
We're trying to provide a bit of levity in these fucking grim times that is Manchester United.
That's the one.
The line that really pissed me off was the Omar Barada thing, where he was like, we apologise if this affects anybody who works at the club, but we want to deliver our highest thing to our valued, is it shareholders or companies involved in sponsorship and stuff? And you're just like, okay, that's what it's about. It's just about the dollar. Nobody gives a shit about the people who are working. And that's what it comes down to. And there's 2 parts to it. One is the fact that INEOS are making these terrible cuts and people are losing their jobs after they've already had 250. Was it? Oh no, it's 500 people, wasn't it?
No,
who lost their jobs. Now another 200 people are losing their jobs when they said the first one there was going to be no more. So they've backtracked on that already, which is disgusting. And these people are not earning that much. I imagine 30, 40, maybe 50k max. Like, I don't imagine they're earning millions at this point. So they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's a cost of living crisis and you're letting them go, which I find pretty disgusting. And then on top of that, you've got players who are not even playing at the club anymore in Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, Malacia, and we're paying a portion of their wages. Obviously, it varies different player to player, but we're playing for players on massive wages who don't play for us anymore. So we'll get no benefit from them, but we're cutting back all the thing. How much is that saving, really? If you got rid of those 4 players permanently, you could keep those people in jobs and people will still have a job. But this is what they do. They come in, they make the hard decisions. And the reason they've had to make these hard decisions is because the Glazers have ran us into the ground for the past 12 years and just completely fucked us financially. I don't think people understand how bad we are, like, financially. Like, United are fucked.
Well, they said it in that statement, didn't they? The past 5 consecutive years, they've had millions and millions of pounds of losses. And I agree with you on the players thing, but it's hard. You can't just get rid of the players.
No, I get it. But we saw during COVID, players sacrificed their wages, didn't they, to keep people working at the club so they didn't have to let them go or put them on furlough or whatever. Players sacrificed their wages to do it. They could easily do the same thing right now, but they're not gonna.
But then, can I throw something back? Should they, because the club has been run badly by the owners, should they have to give up their money?
No, but should the fans have to pay more because the owners have ran the club badly? We're paying for tickets. We're paying like higher prices for tickets. We're paying the price for it all. These people who work at the club are paying the price for it for the Glazers' misownership. The players can afford to sacrifice a bit of their wages. They're in a privileged position to sacrifice wages to help these people out. We're not in a privileged position. We're working day just working class people who can't, like, the 66 quid for an old person or a kid to go to Manchester United. Where are they getting that from?
Mm.
Not happening. These people who are out of work, what are they going to do? The job market's a fucking mess right now. Like, it's never going to happen. It's me dreaming again. Like, it won't happen. Like, it never will happen. But it's happened during COVID, and I don't see why you couldn't do it again to keep these people. But then, yeah, the Glazers have ran the club into the ground for the last 12 years. This is the reason these decisions are going to be after made. If they hadn't have done this, maybe you could keep the people. Maybe we wouldn't be in the mess we are. But that's the reason. So while I understand people's anger towards INEOS, which is warranted, most of our anger should be directed towards the Glazers because they're the ones who put us in this position in the first place.
Yeah, it's a case of they've walked into just shit everywhere, basically, and just starting to clean up now. I get that. I'm just thinking, I'm putting myself in the player's shoes. If someone comes to me and says, look, we're asking the squad, each to take 20 grand a week off your wages or something like that. And I'm going, why? And they go, oh, because basically the club's in a load of shit. We're sacking people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's your fault. That's the Glazers' fault for treating the club how it is. You're not taking fucking money off me because of that. Not a chance.
I get it. But at the same time, as a Manchester, I imagine, Bruno paid for people's friends and family, the women's team, to go to the FA Cup final, didn't he? Yep. He seemed like he's that type of guy. And him, Maguire, and a couple of people got the money together to pay for the furloughed workers so they can make sure they were still in the job. So these players have a heart. Some of them do. Mm. So I imagine some of them would be willing to do it. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But again, fans are paying the price. When billionaires fuck up and millionaires fuck up, who pays the price? The people who can't afford to pay the price.
I agree with
that.
Never
people who could afford to pay it. And that's what's happening here. And I find it fucking disgusting. But people keep saying to me on Twitter, yeah, but that's the reality. Also, we'll just accept it then, shall we? Let's not make a stink about it. Let's not protest against it. Let's not say how disgusting it is because that's just the way it is. I find that horrible, man. I'm going to speak up about it. I'm going to say something about it because I just find it disgusting. But nothing we can do,
climate that we're in at the moment, how expensive everything is. You think day-to-day cost, rent, everything like that is hugely way out of proportion. So to go to people who've been there for years, one thing that really resonated with me, I don't know if you saw it, I was listening to an interview with Teddy Sheringham, and he was talking about the cuts that INEOS have made and the people that they've let go and how they are a part of the fabric of the club. They've been there for years. There's sometimes the reason players join there because how much of a family club it is. And they are taking the soul out of this club by making decisions like this. But then it's like, well, what do you want INEOS to, where else can the cuts made? If they need to do this to make it sustainable, if that's how they're wording it, where else can you possibly make cuts that's going to save money?
Obviously, I've not got the books. I've not seen the books.
Yeah, we're not privy to that information.
INEOS have seen them when they were buying the club. Apparently, that was what was happening. They were seeing the book. So I imagine they've got full sort of knowledge of what money's being spent where. I imagine most of the money, on a majority of the money, has gone on transfers and player wages. I imagine that's the top two expenditures. I imagine
massive part of it.
And then I imagine the next one is probably debt refinancing. Towards the loan that the Glazers took out to pay for the club, because I believe there's no dividends going out for a couple of years, while INEOS are in charge. Yeah. So I think that's not happening currently, but who knows what happens in the future. So there are the three most expenditure things that are going out of the club. Now, we've seen with the transfers, we have seen that pulled down, haven't we, in the transfers? Like January, we brought in Dorgu, but we got rid of a bunch of players on loan in order to do that. And then we'll probably see in the summer, we probably won't see the likes of what we did with Ten Hag, where it's just big signing, big money, big wage. Don't see that happening. I think you're going to see more of the Dorgu type signing. 35 million, 30 million, 40 million tops. First big contract. Yeah, first big contract thing to develop into the team. I imagine that's what we're going to see this summer. So then you can turn over more players so you can get in 5 or 6 players rather than 2 or 3. I imagine that's what's going to go on this summer. So that's a start. But the big problem we have is the current players at the club who are on the massive wages that we can't shift because they've been so poorly performing for the last however many years. That's a big one. And I feel like INEOS have gone, well, we can't shift these players, so we're going to have to find other ways of doing it, and then I think that's where we're at, which doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't sit right with me.
No. Look, if you could, get receipts when you buy players in an ideal world, and you can go back to Dortmund and say, I want the 70-odd million pound that we paid back for Sancho. I want the 85 million that we paid for Antony. I want the 70 million back for Højlund. And you start doing that, they wouldn't have to make any of those cuts. Genuinely, because these cuts are making, I think, around about £1 million, right? That's like each individual one. One of those players is like tenfold of that.
Yeah. Or like every other job, if you don't perform in your job, you get fired.
Yeah.
Like if you don't do your job to an ability where they go, this is not acceptable, you get fired.
Yeah.
It just seems that football, like that doesn't happen. Like if you didn't show up for work on an illness or an injury or something for the amount of time Luke Shaw and Mason Mount have, you would be let go. Like that's what would happen in our jobs. That's what happened in most people who watch these jobs. But you could just carry on. Like it's like, nah, a guaranteed contract. Doesn't matter if I'm injured. Doesn't matter if I play shit. Doesn't matter if I'm sat on the bench for every single game, like Casemiro is on 350k a week. There's no reduction in wages. There's no reduction in bonuses. They can't let him go. They can't cut the wages because these contracts are just like ironclad. There's nothing you can do, and that's what you're facing really, because you can't change anything about it unless you sell the player or the contract runs out. That's it.
But I think that the last 10 years, whatever you want to call it, has been, we've had this giant kind of gash in our leg that we need to cover with, that we've been covering with plasters every year, right? We've been putting one on. Now it's like INEOS have come in and they've just got all of them and just ripped it completely off. And we are like threadbare at the minute, literally based right down to the bone. Because that's what we need to do. It's as simple as that. You actually look into the financials at the minute, and you listen to people who are in the know, like Critchley did a really good piece on it from The Athletic. It's damning. It is damning. And this is why you're seeing these other specific ones. I mean, lunch at Carrington for everyone except the first team players has been reduced to soup and sandwiches. This is including coaches and analysts as well. The staff canteen, which is usually open from 11:30 till 1:30, is expected to be shut down at the end of the week. You've got United considering cuts to the recruitment staff and scouting network as part of the latest rounds as well. You've got cuts to the foundation potentially, which Ben Jacobs reported before, and then they've just hired a new chief business officer basically to oversee this whole thing. So there's so many kind of small, minute cuts everywhere.
I think they're closing down the Hong Kong offices, possibly the London offices, and relocating them to Manchester. So there's that going on as well. You saw people like Jackie Kay, who've been at the club for 20 plus years. She's been let go. A friend of my girlfriend's worked in PR for United for 12 years. She was let go. So you just see all these people who were like at the club for years, or things that were institutions at the club, and it's just all being cut away. And on a level, I understand why, but at the same time, I don't feel comfortable with it at all. Like it just something sits wrong in my soul with it. Like it just feels soulless completely.
And it doesn't feel like something Manchester United would do. Do you know what I mean? Like that brand should mean something. It should represent something, and it's just so far removed from that at the moment. And the more people you remove from the club who've been there for years, the more, like Teddy Sheringham said, I believe you do take away the soul. Effectively, and you turn it into more of a corporate business than a family. And maybe it's a case of it can't be run like this now. It just simply cannot be run. If we continue doing this now, if we didn't make these cuts, I think it would plummet into really, really bad financial situations.
I agree with INEOS. The way that United have spent and the way that United have operated over the last 10 years cannot continue. It can't, because that's the reason the Glazers put the club on the market in the first place, because they realised they cannot continue to run this club without some sort of investment. Otherwise, it goes under. That's how bad
they're probably
things
laughing
are
now,
right
aren't
now.
they?
Oh yeah,
look at this. They're probably thinking they're taking all the shit for it.
We got $1.5 billion in our pocket.
Yeah.
We don't have to deal with shit. We could just let them do it.
They're literally dealing with the whole brunt of it. No one's even spoke about the Glazers. Everyone's like, INEOS this, INEOS that. They were cowards, because they didn't want to make these decisions.
No.
Because they knew the uproar that would happen. If the Glazers came out and did all of this, I 1,000,000%.
It did not be a game that would happen. The games would not go on. No. Like, it just would not happen. So, yeah, they've played it. Like, say what you want about the Glazers, but fucking hell, in business, do they know how to extract the fucking penny out of everything. Like they have done extremely well out of this deal.
Correct me if I'm wrong as well. Can't they? I'm not sure what the clause is now. So let's say Ratcliffe turns this around, right, in a sporting element, and turns it around financially, and gets the club back up and running efficiently, and it's going back towards the top. If he did all that and got it back to the top, could the Glazers turn around and go, "Well, we're selling it now"?
Yeah, so they've got, I believe, the next 6 months they've got an option that they can sell. However, Sir Jim gets the first offer to buy the shares that they want to sell. So
But then,
it's
do
not
they
like
name the price?
I don't know the complications or the details
that.
about it. But like they can't rug pull INEOS basically. They can't basically go, "Oh, we're in a good position now," and then pull the rug out from underneath them and sell the club.
God.
I think Sir Jim's smart enough to go, "No, I'm not going to let that happen." So he gets first dibs on if the Glazers want to sell more shares or he wants to become majority owner, he gets first shot at it basically. So I think he's put that in the deal, which I think is very smart because you don't want that happening, do you? You don't want to put all this work in, take
And
all
money.
this shit, and then
He's put money in, don't forget.
Yeah, and then the Glazers go, "By the way, we're selling up to Qatar or whoever, and we're walking away scot free." Like you don't want that to happen.
And not only just that, because of performances on the pitch, United are currently facing the possibility of a £20 million reduction in Premier League prize money this season after dropping to 15th in comparison to last season where we finished 8th, which obviously a lot of people inside the club are saying is completely unacceptable. But in terms of finishing the season, what's the highest you think, Sam? Top half achievable at all, or is it stay where we are and it's done?
I think, what are we in 15th to 13th, 12th, and it ran there basically. Like we aren't getting relegated, but yeah, that's where we're at. The league's done. Like the league's done. Like we just managed to salvage a draw at Everton. I know they're on the up, but see, and we got Everton on Wednesday. So, and then what's the run after that? It's like Fulham in the cup.
Forest, I think we play at some point.
Forest, who I reckon might batter us
next. Yeah,
Forest might batter us, so that might be a tricky thing. So yeah, we are where we are, and we're not going to get relegated. So yeah, just put all your sort of your hopes of winning something in the cups. I guess that's what we've got to for the rest of the season.
I mean, when you look at it, the more we advance in the Europa League, the more they'll be looking at that like that's your jackpot. That's your wishing on a star. If you can win that. Not only obviously important to just United being in Europe, but in general, because we won't be in Europe at all. Not the Conference League, not the Europa League, not the Champions League. If you manage to get into that via the Europa League, financially that is massive for the club.
Yeah, it's also if you win the FA Cup, you get Europa League as well. Or is it Europa Conference? Yeah,
I think it's Europa League.
You've got 2 bites of the cherry there, basically. There's your 2 opportunities. You've got to win one of those to get into Europe. So. Because it's not happening in the league. Like, I don't think we're getting anywhere. What's the last place for Europa Conference? Like 8th, is it, in the league?
8th or 9th, I think is one of them.
Yeah, so we ain't getting near there, so.
Yeah. Well, we just spent, almost 20 minutes discussing the financial fractures in this club. Now, there's an interview dropping with Eric Ten Hag tomorrow, which we'll be covering in full for the news show, so make sure you tune in for that. There has been some little snippets and little quotes, but I think it kind of plays into what we've been talking about in the financial ruins, and I think his era as manager has been a big part of that. I just wanted to get your opinion on that, because obviously the recruitment during his time, the money that's been spent, the players that have come in under his watch, how the club has been handled whilst he's been here as well, has been pretty horrific, hasn't it?
Yeah, like the whole sort of thing, like we've spoken on this many times, like I think me and you particularly, we got caught up in the romanticism of him winning the FA Cup, beating City, and he should be given an opportunity. And then in hindsight, which is always 2020, isn't it? He probably should have left. They probably should have, like, after the FA Cup, handshake, thank you so much for winning the FA Cup, but new regime, we want to go in a different direction. We appreciate it. And he goes out probably with a goodwill of United fans, doesn't he? People probably go.
Would have been the reaction to that at the time? The height of the emotion.
I think a lot of fans would have been annoyed and angry, but I think over time they probably would have understood this decision, especially if you get Amrin in the summer and he gets like, I know his release clause was higher, wasn't it, in the summer than it was post summer. So if you get him in, he gets to work with the players and he gets to get his transfers in. We don't waste. How much did we spend? 200 million under Ten Hag on players like of various quality. but he gets to bring in the likes of like Adogu, Quenda, wing backs, and gets to change his system and get players out like Rashford. Because partly Rashford thought it was his last game in the FA Cup, didn't he? Because he was waving and he was crying. So he would have gone. Casemiro would have been probably tried to shift out the door. But they kept with Eric Ten Hag, and then 200 million worth of transfers. They backed him, fair enough to INEOS, and it didn't work. And then that left us in a worse position because you've then spent 200 million on the wrong type of players for the next manager you're going to bring in. You've cost, what was it, 14 million to get rid of Ten Hag? And then another 4 million to get rid of Dan Ashworth. Plus, you waited 180 days on gardening leave and you paid 4 million to get him out of there. So that's another thing. And then you paid, what, 8 million for Ruben Amorim plus his staff, which is like a couple of million. You've cost yourself nearly 300 million on a decision to basically extend Ten Hag's contract and back the wrong manager. And it's cost you 300 million. Like, that's a big mistake. It's a big fucking mistake. And that's basically why where we're at this season, because Ruben Amorim's come into a squad of players that he didn't sign in a set up for a system that he doesn't play, and a sporting director who was there when he came in and now is fucked off already, and he's basically trying to pitch through the ruins, trying to find something, and the only thing they could do to help him in January is give him one signing, but then got rid of 3 forwards and didn't sign him a new one. And was like, yeah, get on with it. And now people are like, the manager's shit. The manager's like, what do you want him to do? Like, what do you want him to do? Like, he's fucked. He's literally fucked.
I still think, managing to win an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup is still very impressive, considering how shit
Absolutely.
we was.
Absolutely.
How bad we was last season. And he still walked away beating City in an FA Cup final. It's almost like mad, isn't it? It's like you think, how the fuck have we done that? I beat one at the time, one of the best teams in the world, and that's why I still think this season I look at the Europa League, maybe not the FA Cup, but I certainly look at that and I think, why not? I know we've been shit, but we haven't lost in Europe yet.
Nope.
If you keep showing that steel and you get something, I don't know where that's going to come from, but you get a bit of a spark, you can go and win that. It's the easiest time to win the Europa League right now. That is factual, because there's no teams dropping.
There's no teams in there that you should be scared of. Like, there's no teams in there where you look at them and go, that there's a lot of good players in there. Like, Sociedad are what, like 11th in the league? They're having a bad season. I know our history with Spanish teams, and I know. And then you look at it like Lazio, they aren't the team they were. Like, it's Roma, again, not the team they were. Yeah. Like, the first time they won a trophy was the Europa Conference, like a couple of years ago under Jose. They hadn't won a trophy in 30 years. So, like, there's nobody in there that you should be afraid of. But again, that depends on player performances, doesn't it? Like, if players show up or not.
I think it's really interesting if we get Tottenham in the final. That is going to be...
That's
because
the worst
obviously,
final,
I know we spoke about it yesterday, but the more I think about it, the more that I can definitely see that final shaping up. And that's the only team I'd be a bit like, oh, I don't know. Because they've had our number 3 times now. That's what worries me about that game.
And Ange would thrive in a one-off game against United in a fight. Like, it don't have to go across like 2 legs. It's one-off game. He'll just chuck everything at it, and he could well beat you.
I think, given what's at stake as well, that would probably go down as one of the biggest Europa League finals. Considering, look at Tottenham, haven't won a trophy. The narrative with that for so long. That's massive for them to win a European trophy. United, obviously, for all the reasons that we just discussed as well. So, that's fascinating.
Another European final United have failed at as well. Like, you had Ollie, and then you've got this one potentially. Like, disappointing.
Speaking of finals and cups, we'll finish with Eric Ten Hag quote, and then we'll talk free agents. He was saying, "You're always working towards a dot on the horizon, but you may never get to the horizon. We've had many highs. I always say there is always room for improvement, and good is not good enough. You can do better. If there's one thing I miss, it's Old Trafford." It's sad, isn't it? You do have that kind of emotional connection with the manager, obviously when he's at the club and when he's won things and when he's been there for so long. But I don't know, on balance of things, just the last question on this, do you think it's more negative with Ten Hag, which is ultimately the reason why I went?
No, I think at the minute there's a lot of Ten Hag revisionism going on because of the state the club's in and stuff like that. But in the league, we were diabolical under Ten Hag. Like, we were just fucking terrible. Especially the the last 2 seasons. Like first season, we seemed to do all right, but maybe that was because every other team just fell apart completely in that season.
There's still some bad results though the first season. Well, I
Yeah,
remember really bad ones.
But at the end of the day, where you finish is what's important, in it. And we finished in the top 3, so like you got to take that. Like Ollie's the same thing. Like you finished second, so it's like you can't take that away from him. Like it was over a 38 game period. The same, So that's why we're in 15th. That's the table. It is exactly where we should be because we're that shit. So I think that's one thing. But then the cups. Yeah, that FA Cup final against City and the Liverpool quarter final is probably two of my favourite memories post Fergie ever. Like that and the night in Paris. Those 3 things are 3 of my favourite things post Fergie. And Ten Hag delivered 2 of them. So I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for him, and I'll always be like, if I saw him out in the street, I'd smile and want to chat to him and be like, thank you. Like I'd always do that. Like he's not like Misa non culpa at United for me. Like he's not that guy. So he's delivered 2 of my favourite memories post Fergie. So yeah, he'll forever be up there in the thing. But I think he probably should have gone in the summer. I would have done the handshake after the FA Cup and been like, thank you so much. We appreciate let him say goodbye to the fans, like in an interview and stuff like that, like Ollie did. And then let him sail off into the sunset and we start anew. That's probably what should have happened.
But that's why fans don't make decisions, right? Because we ride on the high of emotions. That's why there is
That's
executives there to make cold decisions. Yeah, absolutely. But I also think moments has almost been like a rod we made for our own back in the sense of like, because when we have moments, we believe, oh, this can change. We had moments under Ollie where you go, oh, there's something there. There's something there. Yeah, it makes you believe. And then you look at on reflection, you look back and you go, there's no consistency there throughout the full thing. We had a moment, we won an FA Cup under Van Gaal. We won trophies under every manager, basically, apart from Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho. Oh no, Ollie, sorry, Ollie got to finals, but the majority of them had massive moments, despite whatever state the club was in.
Yeah, like Van Gaal had things where you look at it, it's just like, but the football was so turgid. Robotic. It was so bad. Like, honest to God, I couldn't take it anymore. Ollie was probably some of the most exciting football I've ever seen post Fergie. Like that 14-game run, he came in and we were just smashing teams. Yeah, that's my favorite time ever watching United. I was just like, this is fucking insane. And then, like you said, the wheels fell off, and it just kind of all went to shit. And then Ten Hag, it started so promising. Carabao Cup, second in the league, third in the league, and you think, here we go. And it all fell apart again. Jose Mourinho, first one, finished second, Europa League, and you're like, here we go. He's going to win us a title next year. All falls apart, doesn't it? All falls apart. So that's basically been United for like the last however many years.
That's why heading into the summer recruitment is going to be absolutely key and number one priority. You have to get this right this summer, otherwise, you know, there's a long way back for United anyway. And there was reports earlier on this morning about certain free agents being available. Now, I wanted to ask your opinion on these because the candidates are Jonathan David, Jonathan Tah, Leroy Sané, and Calvert-Lewin are the names that are being thrown out there as potential options as free agents. Any of them tickle your fancy?
I don't like any of those.
Oh, really?
Jonathan Tah, maybe. He might be worth a punt. I like him.
Back.
I thought he was a good centre-back. So if we say Lindelof does go out the door, he could be potentially a decent backup, couldn't he? For that sort of thing. Does he play in the right? Is he a right footer or is he a left footer, Jonathan Tah?
Jonathan Tah's right-footed.
Okay. So you could fill in the right centre-back sort of positions. So, yeah, like I'd be all right with that. Calvert-Lewin, is he ever going to play? Let's just add somebody to the treatment table.
With this Calvert-Lewin thing? Why? I've seen Laurie report about him as well.
I don't know. But, like, he's literally just going to sit on the treatment table next to Mason Mount and fucking Luke Shaw, isn't he? Like, what's the point? Leroy Sané, no, don't.
I do like Leroy Sané. I think he's a good player.
No, I don't rate him at all. And then what was the other one? Jonathan David. Yeah, I just think it's the wrong striker type for us. I think, was it Carl, I think, on Talk of Devil said his agent is fucking phenomenal at getting his name out there because he seems to be linked with clubs so many times and so often. And then when Carl's looked into it, apparently there's not much in it at all. So it's just, I don't see us going through any of those, to be honest with you. Jonathan Tah, maybe, but everybody else, no. I think they're wrong.
Yeah, I've never been strong on Jonathan David, to be honest with you. I've always felt like it's, like you said, been blown out of proportion, agent talks, and being pushed quite a lot. Jonathan Tah would be an interesting one, I think, because I think he's
Yeah.
still at a very good age. Obviously, Bayern Munich were after him in the summer and couldn't seem to get the deal. They won league titles with Xabi Alonso, who plays a similar system to Ruben Amorim, obviously with the back
He's
five,
young as
back
well,
three.
isn't he? How old's Tar? Like 24?
He's not. Well, I don't know if he's that young, but he's at a good age. He's not 30. He's not 31. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So there's still
He's
years
not
left in the
injury.
tank.
He's not injury prone either. Like
No.
he's not got
No,
injuries. So
exactly.
yeah.
Leroy Sané for me. I know you don't like him, but I think he's
Yeah.
a wonderful player. I think obviously he won multiple trophies as well.
Yeah.
He's 28. The only thing with him is when they are a free agent, similar to what happened with Rabiot, the wages that they're going to ask for. I mean, look what Alphonso Davies was asking for when he was kind of being linked with us. You're talking 300 grand a week. And it feels like INEOS are going away from that, so I can't see him signing.
Well, he's re-signed with Bayern now, hasn't he? So they've obviously paid up. So
yeah, absolutely. Their wage. Have you looked at Bayern's wage bill?
must be insane.
I would employ you, go and look at their wage bill. It is fucking nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Kane's on like
400
grand
a week.
Insane. Obviously, Alphonso Davies got through.
Just
Neuer must be on fucking.
Yeah. Muller's still on quite a big contract as well, I think. Like
Musiala's signed a new deal as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Musiala's just got a new deal as well. So yeah.
Goretzka's is on like 200 grand a week. You can go through the full team. It's just fucking crazy. But yeah, I'll leave you guys with that kind of thought or question or comment, whatever you want to call it. Free agents in the summer. Would you take any of the one? Jonathan David, Jonathan Tah, Leroy Sané, or Calvert-Lewin? And let me know which ones you would take and why, and what kind of effect you think they would have on the team. Sorry. Apart from that, we shall leave it at that. Like we said, we've got the interview with Eric Ten Hag. We haven't got it. I mean, that'd be really good if we did. Imagine. I'd love that exclusive. But there is an interview dropping with him tomorrow, so we'll cover that for the large part, plus, the inevitable
preview
news that's going to pop around us. And we've got a preview, coming for Ipswich. And we're just about to record Premier League predictions as well. So it's so busy at the moment. It's outrageous. But we appreciate it.
No, I love football, but at the same time, when these games like midweek, in the middle of the week, after, it's just chaos.
It's fucking so chaos. Crazy. It really is. But yeah, that's part and parcel of the game, I suppose. Please do smash like the video, follow us on socials, bottom right hand corner of your screen, and subscribe to the channel. We're on 13,015 subs at the minute, so hit that subscribe button, share to a friend, and me and Sam will see you guys in the next one. See you in a bit.